Hello everybody, welcome to the latest Joy of ZZT live stream. Tonight, we're gonna kind of jump towards the end of things, because we're pretty much done. At this point, we've got 4 purple keys already hooked up properly, I believe. And then last week we did our little engine here, which is going to be intended to be the method for getting key number 5. And once we get our 5th key, that means it's time to wrap up the game. Here's our top part. And see what's at the top of this mysterious Martian pyramid. Ideally, this is going to be the last stream with heavy development to it. And we're going to mostly jump right to it. I want to do one little thing beforehand. Let's handle this guy right up here. Orb. Make that guy cycle 1. What I plan to do today is our climactic final battle on a orbital space station laser cannon of death sort of dealy. And to do that, we will be using this orb to be beamed into outer space. And to do that, we're going to have our player open up their 5 doors, touch this orb, and then we're going to do a convenient little trick. I'm going to say copy, copy. Actually, no, what I'm doing doesn't even need a separate object. We're just going to have this object do it. We're going to put north player. And that's it. And what we're going to do then, clear out these 2 tiles here, make this one a fake wall that blends into the sky, so that it can actually put a player. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us a player clone, which we haven't used because they're really weird. If you just insert over the player, you can copy them into the buffer in Kev Edit and place a player clone. And you can do the same thing in ZZT's normal editor as well. And player clones are kind of... refresh that world. Kind of funny because they're not really supposed to exist. I get myself some ammo here and I shoot lefts. Of course. Well, so much for that. They would both shoot to the left and 2 ammo would be taken. But apparently I disabled shooting on this board? Oh, because of the breakables. I didn't want anybody destroying my beautiful art. But more importantly, if you move and there's a player clone, this happens. Kind of get stuck to them. If you pause, you can detach yourself. Then as soon as you step again normally. And that's because ZZT assumes that there's only going to be 1 player, and it also assumes that it's the very first thing in the list of stat elements on the board. So when I press up here, what's going to happen? Actually, here, let's move up to the door by pausing, because that lets you move safely. So when I press up here, I'm going to hit the purple door and be blocked, and it's going to say that, hey, you need a purple key. And then it's going to continue ticking through stat elements. It's going to hit the player clone, and it's going to say, oh, you pressed up. So I want to move the first thing in the stat element list, which is supposed to be the player, above me. So it kind of warps the player around a bit. So we're going to actually hit 2 different tiles at once by pressing up. We still get the purple doors locked message, so we do go there, but then immediately get yanked over. And the player clone is convenient because it can still touch objects that it's surrounded by. It can shoot. It's got some quirks, and it's very frequently exploited. And we're going to use a little exploit with it to do a seamless board transition. So we go back here to Kev Edit, get rid of this clone because we don't want him. For the sake of things, testing purposes, will move me right up here. So this orb will put a player up. And because of what I said, we're going to press up to touch this object. The player clone is going to get spawned at the end of the stat list, and it's also going to get a tick, and it's going to try to move up. So if I put a key up here, we'd end up collecting that key. If I put another door, we'd bump into the door. So what I'm going to do is, again, purple on purple here. Go to Kevat's terrain, and under the special, towards the bottom, is board edge. I'm going to place a board edge here. Connect the board to the north. I'm going to attach it to a new board. And what this should do is I'm going to press up, and I should immediately be warped to the next screen. Look at that, you don't even see the player clone. It happens instantaneously, it's the same cycle. Actually, I don't know, I was not supposed to name that the core space station thing, because that's not what I'm actually having it warp us to. What I want to have it warp us to is a cinema, an animated sequence here. So I keep going to the park like as if that's the board I want. I want top part. You know, just for, since we haven't actually showed off this feature, except maybe in like episode 0, I'm going to actually export this board with the T key. Sorry, I should probably press buttons. T key again, import from board file. Okay, so I'm going to delete this board. Now we get a copy of the board. You could also just grab it and literally copy and paste. Make sure, yeah, reconnect that board. Rename that board. I'm going to do one other little trick. Whenever we've seen you go off the edge of the board, you end up at the opposite side of the next screen. So when we touch our board edge here, it's our destination, it's going to put the player down here. But that's not where I want the player to go. I want them fenced off in a corner. So what we want to do is pick a black color. We'll use this one because that's the little trick where you can still see it in KevEdit, but it'll be invisible in ZZT because it's blinking black on black. In F3, dead smiley. And that is just a player without a stat. It's the same thing as a player clone, but it's not going to be sticky or do anything weird. It's just going to sit there. And incredibly conveniently, when ZZT does a board transition, if it sees that there's already a player on the tile that it wants to move the player to, it just says, okay, cool, I'm done, and does nothing. Which means not only are we going to instantly transport to this board, we're also going to just spawn in this corner because that's where the player actually is. We are tricking ZZT into thinking that this dead player clone is the actual player. So from there, clear a path here, and now we can do a nice little cutscene of some sort. And all the doors will be open at this point. So instead, let's actually fill this with some fake walls. Not forest, fake. Fill this guy up. Yeah, really. It's a incredibly good trick. So, because again, another weird ZZT thing is objects that move are going to lose their backgrounds, so I'm not even going to bother with giving it a blue background, but I'm going to give it a purple one so it blends in on this first tile. And all we have to do is a quick little animation here. Change characters. And we beam upwards. We'll just have the player walk to the north so they'll automatically hit the top. And when they can't move, they'll jump to the thud label. Name this dude player. When that happens, turn invisible. I don't know why I used that. I know 32 is the space character. Turn invisible. And door open. Because, of course, cutscenes. I mean, you gotta block that player off. And then we just have a passage here. That'll take us to space. So I want to do a little more with that animation, but that'll do for now. So let's just go right on back and make sure it all works. Yeah, the player clone on edge trick is not super commonly known. It's only used in a couple of games and mostly newer ones. Okay, so I'm going to press this and we should be in cutscene mode. There we go, look at that. Quick transition. We'll do some flashier effects later on, but player is beamed into space. And free to continue. This horrible inky blackness. When it was discovered is tough to say. The first game I'm aware of that uses it is actually Flimsy's Town of ZZT, where it was the first time I managed to actually notice it. But there's also, fairly recently, if I go digging on the museum, there's some like turn-based RPG battle engine that warps you, and it actually uses the same technique except with a player clone with stats, so it's always visible. If you use the dead player clone, it still works, and you can blend it into the background so it looks a little nicer. Let's see quickly if I can find it. There's too many new uploads on the Museum of ZZT to find things. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't want to keep digging. Basically, go back to Caveat. It'll work on any board transition as well. If you did actually have the player walk off, and then if you have them walk off this right edge here, and they appeared normally on this left edge, if there's a player clone, they'll just appear wherever the actual player is. So it just lets you skip the player being moved step of things. It's not perfect. Well, actually, that part's perfect. What's not perfect is the sort of touch the button thing and instantly warp. That requires the player, touches something, because that way the keyboard input is still stored for that cycle. You can't just put a player clone. If you do that, there'll be a player clone, and you can say, press north to continue, and then that works, or passages, as pretty much every other game does. Oh, yeah, Small Spaces uses it extensively. That's kind of how it does this whole effect, where it's one board split up into a dozen. but the limitation of it means that we can't do it again here. We're still just going to have to make the player walk into a passage, because at some point we have to make the player press a button for input. And also, cutscenes should be skippable. If you touch the door, it disappears. So now we're good to go into space. And since there's not going to be any passage here, the player will just spawn where I tell them to spawn, which is right here. If you saw on Twitter, I tweeted a mock-up for a board I wanted to do. You could also do the duplicator. The duplicator thing is slower, noisier, and slightly inconsistent and has its own quirks. It also pauses the player because it's a passage transition. This is as seamless as it gets in ZZT, what I did there. So I'm just going to draw a weird shaped room. Good enough. Oh yeah, that's true. You can also clone a duplicator, or sorry, use a duplicator to clone or duplicate. You know, normally those verbs are pretty much the same thing, but when we're talking about player clones and duplicators, they're different things. If you have it duplicate a board edge or a passage on top of a player clone, it'll instantly activate whatever that is. But that also can screw up some stats on the next board because it's kind of a screwy situation. So I'm just making me a horrible irregular shaped room. This is what space stations look like, I swear. I want something pretty open, but not just a big old rectangle. Did I just... Yeah. There we go. Now we got ourselves a final arena. There we go, that looks depressing enough. So these final challenges and boss fights and that sort of thing in ZZT are pretty difficult to do well. So I'm hoping my idea works out nicely. My goal is to, instead of making it be some big complex boss that runs around and shoots and that kind of thing, I want it to be kind of a, still feel like an action board with a challenge with some sort of goal to accomplish. So we're going to have this little core, reactor core. And it's going to be the player's goal to shoot that a bunch. And there's going to be some things that get in the way of making that simple. So let's see. Get some fake walls here. And if you saw my little preview screenshot earlier, I had these nice little rings going around. And I made that a little more complicated than I should have. So I'm going to really simplify it a bit here. Some fake walls. I'm just going to make a little diamond. So the goal is that the player's going to have to shoot this thing a bunch, but they're not going to be able to do so directly, and I'm going to have things basically like shields orbiting it in a circular or diamond pattern in this case, as a way to make that more of a challenge. And the plan is we will have some machines around the room that can be destroyed, and doing that will slow down the shields, giving you an easier opportunity to make your shots. Hopefully, that ends up being fun to play and not impossibly difficult. We'll see. No, I want that to be bright. So what I want to do is make some little orbity things. And actually, I want to go with bright colors. I'm going to make this as still fake walls, because I don't want background colors. And the fake walls end up being important. They weren't when I was designing it. Originally it was just to make it easier to follow the path that I wanted to program for the orbiting shields. But they're going to come into play. So we're going to just do a little diamond here. Speed these guys up. This little orbiter. And we're going to actually do some more fun features. So when we say walk west, what that ends up doing when that code gets executed is you go back to here, our advanced tweaking, that adjusts the X and Y step. That's how that object is going to automatically walk each cycle. So walk west just says move -1 in the X direction. And in ZZT, your only directions for that are going to be end up resolving at least to north, south, east, west. We can do whatever the heck you want in CavEdit. We can have it move 1 step left and then 5 steps south in a single tick and just jump over whatever's in its way. So you can do all kinds of weird movements. In this case, what I want to do is just a diamond pattern, so I'm just going to have it move diagonally. So I don't need to tell it to walk west, because I'm going to tell it it's walking west here. So southwest needs to move left 1 and down 1. What we need to do instead with our actual code is tell it to walk clockwise, counterclockwise. And if you give it these weird custom X and Y values, then you can take advantage of it with flow, which is the current direction that something is walking. And you can modify it with things like clockwise and counterclockwise and opposite. And that kind of lets you... So just doing this, as long as this object gets blocked, by something. So I'll put some bare line walls on these spots. It's going to move southwest, it's going to hit this, and then it's going to start moving southeast, hit this, start moving northeast. So just like that, this should orbit just fine, endlessly, forever. Easy enough. Obviously you can still break it, but we're not going to even let the player get that close anyway. But just like that, we've got diagonal movement. So we'll go back to Cavett here. Actually, kind of like how that looks. And there'll be, of course, one weak point down here, which we still need to block the player off of. Ah, good suggestion, actually. Because, yeah, I did notice it kind of sticks for a tick when it thuds. So I like that suggestion. Let's add a loop. If blocked flow, block counterclockwise flow. So now it'll change direction before it hits, because it'll be looking ahead for the wall. Did I make that loop? No. And then we just have it jump back to the loop. Good suggestion. This should be a little smoother now. We've still got it running, so this is the old one. You can see it sort of sticking whenever it hits a corner. There we go. Can't spell. And again, I'm not going to have the player shoot this. And similarly, I'm going to actually put in a couple of these. How many? 4 is the obvious one, but I kind of want to go a little more than that. Would you have time? Yeah, let's just go all out. So you're walking southwest, you're walking southwest. This one would be walking southeast. So we change that to a positive one. You're walking southeast. You're walking northeast. Which is north and east. Northeast. Northwest. Just had a brain fart here. West, north. And just for our debug purposes, give ourselves some ammo. It did not have cav edit picked up. I loaded those guys up and changed their X and Y steps. So this should still all orbit nice and proper. Yeah, okay. Good luck. You can, it's possible, and they get kind of bunched up, which is actually bad. Don't like that. So the original version, let me actually load it up and show you quick. Spoilers for the rest of the video, because it's going to have other things that we're going to be adding in. I put this in projects. Also, I was doing a mock-up for a possible title screen. Yeah, so this is... So this is kind of more of our goal. And I had these guys and a whole lot more code. But that also is a bit of a pain. These guys were on hard-coded paths. Just basically following this outer ring here. But I made one fatal flaw, and that's how I handled these corners. You can see an object would go from where my cursor is, left, left, down, left, right, down. And I actually had too many of these at first, and they end up hitting each other at this point where they kind of both need to move here. It kind of sucked. What folder am I in? Projects. Extreme. Joy. So yeah. So we do need to figure out what's a good way to handle this. I mean, honestly, it's not the worst thing in the world if they get kind of jumbled up a little bit, but we'll go back to it, because I don't want the player to be able to fire a million bullets in that direction to begin with in the first place. What I want them to do is have to activate some sort of laser cannon. Like so. And I had a nice design. Let's do something like this. There's the opposite one I want. I want one horizontal. There we go. One horizontal, two vertical. We could do the board limit, but I want them also to be fighting other things. I don't want them to be the one that shoots the core. I want them to activate something to shoot the core. But I also do want them to be able to fire, because there's going to be lions and tigers and horrible creatures on this board as well. So limiting the shots sounds miserable. Yeah, I think this is how I had it before. Or no, now I remember how I had it. This guy. There we go. Cannon. Laser. So I have a bottom part here. Shoots the cannon. Cannon fires. But again, don't want to be able to spam it, so I want to have a sort of a cooldown. So it's going to lock itself when it fires its shot. Do something visually to indicate that, hey, you can't fire the cannon, it's not ready. Idle for a bit. This should be roughly 1 second. Make it 2. Unlock. Go back to Zeta. Oh, and I immediately shot it. Oh, I forgot to change the character back. Well, I think we might actually have to hardcode the path, but this diamond pattern is still going to be a heck of a lot more simple. So let's do that. Gotta erase all these things. Well, not all of them. Put one in the buffer. And I'm actually going to want to fill this out. Yeah, that's going to have the same issue. I can't space them too close together. So, 1, 2. This should be up top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 southwests. 5 southwests. Yeah, 5 east souths. 5 northeasts. I cannot type these characters. 5 west north. This should also be a loop. At least that only took like 30 seconds to write instead of... Nope. Oh, right. So that guy still has its X and Y steps, so it kind of just burst free. Let's reset those to 0. Try that again. Okay, much better. Back to here. Remember to change this thing's character back. Okay, so I'm going to actually plan things ahead because I don't want to be duplicating too much code. Do a break for this. Speed 3. Let's just do 235. So we're going to make a check for these speed adjustments at each of the corners. And I'm going to just go with 4. So we get to mostly copy and paste the code, but I need this one to start somewhere else. So you would start here. You would start here. And you would start here. Let's see, what does this look like? The problem is 4 is still pretty easy, even without slowing them down. And if I just cram a bunch more in there, stuff's gonna get in the way. Because you don't want this to happen. For now, I'm gonna leave it. Better to be too easy than too difficult anyway. You can always do other things, like have the player have to do something before they can fire the laser. Oh, don't worry, there's actually going to be blink walls, but not in that way. So the next thing I want to do is add in some machines that when they get destroyed will adjust the speed. So I'm just going to design a little machinery. With some weird controls. Actually, if we use this character, it'll kind of imply that there's some relation to those things. Don't like the spacing on that. Now, I'm just gonna do what I did to begin with in the mock-up. Okay. Let's see. Do this, make it one tile larger. Place a couple of them around. And my alignment here is very deliberate. Okay. I'm going to draw some power chords. Actually, let's do it with... Yeah, let's do some line walls for that. Make them weird and not very sensible. Tweak this slightly because I have something very deliberate I'm trying to do here. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna not use line walls. I was gonna actually make these ones line walls against the actual wall here so they kind of connect, but they don't connect on this side anyway, so. It's a little too wacky, but whatever. There we go. Reduce wackiness. Move our little star icons to the lower right. You could. I believe that should work. If you bind these and have them start somewhere else. That would work, but then you're literally counting every single byte, and at this point I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to end up having to modify these any further. That would be something you would do to like optimize at the very end if you were like desperate for space. Okay, that looks somewhat nicer. Oh, I still need this one. And I forgot that I was doing this whole thing to begin with. Okay. One more power chord. this. I'll get back to that one. But anyway, secret plan with this is that we're going to have some hidden blink walls in here. And so when you destroy each of these generators, it'll slow down the shields, but as a sort of a live wire thing, it'll be shooting rays of electricity out. So we'll put a secret blink wall here, have this one fire east, have this one fire north. Ugh. This is what I get for trying to be consistent. Fine, these things can be in all sorts of places. Because I want the blink walls to be blocked until the actual generator part is destroyed. Let's put one here to the north. Put one here to the north. So that means this thing's power cable has to come out this way. And then this goofy thing, not doing anything good, just getting in the way. We would have one last blink wall here, that would go west. Which means power cord comes out of here. Okay. So now after all that, I have to go back and make every single one of these squares an object. But at least the code is really easy. Bombed. You spell it right. Die. Like this. I'm still gonna have to add that into the ones with special graphics, but okay, let's see what that all looks like for now. Put some debug bombs around. That actually aren't. They're actually visible. Yeah, that's what I should have done. I did that kind of out of order. I should have done that coding and then put the blink walls inside them. But I can't copy paste them because they'll have blink walls in like hidden spots. And you can obviously see one issue, which is that doesn't look very electricity. Also, I completely missed the top left one, apparently. We are making a final boss today. This one's isn't even set in the right direction. That or I missed one entirely. That's the problem with working with invisible things. So let me actually... That is exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to find one of these objects. And when it gets bombed, it's not going to just die. It's going to change the color of the blink wall above it. Okay. Blanked out on where my characters were. Okay, so that's all objects, I think, with code. Just make sure. Okay, I apparently put a bomb here. Try this again. Wait, we had a... Oh, we just didn't even put a blink wall in here. That explains that. North. Okay. I think we should have these things blowing up properly. I know I still need to code in the yellow blink wall change for some of them, but... Well, that didn't work. And that one actually got to see a ZZT bug in the top left there. Okay, we do at least have 4 blink walls. So I'm just gonna clear all this stuff out. I'm gonna actually grab these blink walls, erase them, and put them back. And I am doing that because the stat order right now for things is weird. If you saw, we had a yellow blink wall here and a blink wall that moved, and that are not supposed to do that. That is a weird ZZT bug that we found out about like a year ago. Or apparently even the die commands can cause bugs. So I just want to make sure these blink walls are last in order. And I want to test this much faster. So I'm going to actually adjust the bomb's fuses. Why is that not storing it? Weird. Adjust it from down here. So I guess you have to adjust the data 1 value, otherwise it doesn't store it. And now these will be lit bombs. There we go, they are all about to explode. And we still actually got hit with that blink wall bug. What is that? Oh, that's even better. It moved 2 tiles this time. That's fantastic. I love ZZT. I am not worrying about that. What happened to that one on the right? Is there an oblink wall here? Ah, it's just pointing the wrong way. To the west. I'm going to say good enough. Put north yellow blink wall. Put east yellow blink wall. Put east yellow blink wall. And put west yellow blink wall. One last check. Horrible explosions. Let's see what that one on the top left wants to do this time. It really wants to move. And I guess this thing is just missing. Yep. Wonderful. And the fun thing about this is when the player actually is the one planting these bombs, it's going to time things differently. So in this case, the horizontal one keeps beating this vertical one here, but depending on when the player destroys them, that might not necessarily be the case. So it's going to have a little variety to it, even to the point where if the player dies during this and tries it again, they'll still likely get a possibly different pattern. And we can mess around with those blink wall settings more. I just literally left them on the default because I don't use blink walls enough to know offhand what would be better. But that looks reasonable. You can get past them while still having them be in your way. See, yeah, apparently that's another thing. ZZT bugs are not the best at being documented. So a lot of times we end up rediscovering something and then eventually finding out, oh yeah, this is in somebody's random document from a decade ago. And just nobody cared because we all called that guy a nerd. Sorry, Nanobot. So anyway, right now, we're almost set. Actually, one other thing we need to do is have these guys handle the speed change. So that's if, what did I call those flags? Speed 2, 3, and 5. If better idea, I'm going to have this handled by one object. Speed adjust. Copy that line, paste in everything. Yeah, but now the huge nerds are the only ones left. Speed adjust. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the same one that handles these, but speed adjust. And speed adjust. Now let's toss you in the corner here. For now, I will make it clearly visible so I remember there's an object. We'll just add our labels, zap our labels, so each time it'll get called to something else. We'll also clear out our flags. And the good news is this is like the end of the game, so I don't really care too much about flags. I can just go nuts with them. I don't have to worry about running out of room later. In this case, the only reason I'm bothering to clear the old one is because the checks will end up like triggering twice. Two, three. Wait, did I only make 3 speeds? I did. I made 4 computers to blow up computer generator things, and I only programmed 3 of them to matter. Well, you know what? Too bad. Okay, so that should activate that. And now I have to give the player bombs to begin with. You know, we're going to do some more. No, we're not. We're just going to do this the simple way. Make a sort of a replicator device. Looks like an inverted bomb. And when you touch it, just like the laser cannon, it locks itself because I don't want you to be able to spam the button. Actually, no, in this case, I'm going to limit you to 1 bomb at a time for sure. So it'll check that there's not a bomb on the screen. If there is a bomb on the screen, it won't do anything. If there's not, we'll just put south a bomb. Actually, I'm going to make this loop. it this way. So if there's a bomb on the board, it'll go to this check label, where it'll change to a sort of not yet ready character. Let's make that an X. Not any bomb. Reset. We'll have it constantly loop here. When there is no longer a bomb, change the character back, and you'll be good to go. This is kind of redundant. This could definitely have been more thought out in how I organized it, but we should have a setup where we can have a bomb right away. What I do wrong. If any bomb, check. Oh, I forgot to get rid of this. There. If there's any bomb, I guess this makes it look a little nicer. If any bomb, fail. There we go. Now this code looks a little more sensible. Touch button, receive bomb, can't receive more bombs. Oh yeah, and you can see those guys have slowed way down already. So now you also have to contend with the electricity. I thought I fixed that. One to the north, one to the north. Good enough. And yeah, now these guys are not much of a threat down here. If you want to time your shot. Ta-da! Okay, so we have a source of bombs. I'm going to similarly try and make sure that the player can also get ammo and health on this board. I'm going to just recycle that system. Make it look like an ammo. So Ravenworks has a good suggestion, but there's a reason I can't quite do that. Penalty for hitting the wrong thing makes sense, but here's the problem, because we got our very linear code here. That would work, I think, if we went back to the old walking system, but then we have to deal with things bunching up. With this sort of hard-coded thing, if we make it act somehow once it gets shot, we have no idea where in this code it was, and we need a way to make it resume from every possible spot. And if you really wanted to, you could do :X, zap X with every single step like this. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. It would just kind of suck. So I'm just having them be dumb barriers. I mean, other things to do, add more of these guys, add some more sort of other barriers they have to do. What I'm thinking of doing is, since I screwed up and made 4 of these generators when I only need 3, is have one of them have to be like activated to power the laser. Yeah, actually, Mr. Alert's suggestion would work fine as well. You can sort of time the cycles, or not even time the cycles. Oh yeah, you would time the cycles. Have this thing shoot north, and then after like X amount of cycles, say you missed, and throw a star, whatever. And then every time this thing gets shot, have it tell the cannon to cancel that timer and jump back to reset or whatever. I'm going to try my extra generator here being used for power. So I'm going to be generous and not let the player destroy this one, actually. See, there we go. Now you can tell, if you're smart, this one goes with that. Really want to go all out. Look at this horrible cable mess. I want to make this at least cleaner visually if I'm going to do some overlapping. There we go. So I actually want to cancel these guys all out. Just... You know, there can still be a hidden blink wall in there, it doesn't matter. If you want it to be cruel, you could have it cruel but not unbeatable. You could have it so if you blow this thing up that the laser charges more slowly. There we go. I know I didn't get the dot. Oh yeah, I still had this issue. Bombs, die. Oh, maybe that one was like just out of range or something of the explosion. That's pretty believable. Okay, so this guy... Here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to have an invisible object above this one. That's a cycle 1. Okay. And I think way back when we mentioned that if you just have an object, plain old blue object here, and you tell it to become green object, it'll erase all its code and turn invisible and just become like a default object which has no data, which makes that useless. So we have to do this sort of two object technique, because for whatever reason, if you put an object on top of an object, it'll change colors and keep code. I don't know. Don't question it. It's a solution. So in this case, I'm going to make this button look a little different. I'm going to make it start off as red. Tile information, Control T, which will let me pick its color. If any, bullet is an option, but I also plan on putting on like ZZT built-ins on this board. There's going to be lions and there's going to be tigers, and so tigers are going to be creating bullets. Laser button. If you touch the laser button, sounds good. Playing it very fast and loose with these names here. Touch. I'm not using star throwing tigers. So we're going to actually have a pre-zapped label here. And then instead, when laser gets set to arm, it will restore the touch. And then you'll be able to fire. And we'll make it zap the touch, so it kind of needs to be resumed. And additionally, we need what objects? This guy sends a message back to power, to off. So I want this actually to be first, just to make sure that the player, or no, I guess it shouldn't make a difference, those aren't cycle ending commands. But I want to be confident that the player can't just hold the touch button and break things. Okay, so can goes to fire, power goes to off. Power goes to off. And since it's only a visual change and the player kind of has a long walk, I think I can get away with just doing it like that. So let's see what does that look like. Save here. No, the laser is currently off, obviously. I might have it start on, just so they can get an idea of how to fire it. Laser charged. That did nothing for the color, so that's broken. We're also going to lose our background color. But the general system works at least. There we go. So that should change the colors back on. I'm going to get rid of this background color entirely, because it's just going to break in a second. And it'll make this area stand out a little bit more. Actually, another alternative you could do is if you had a whole bunch of these guys, instead of having it slow them down, have like each one of these destroy one of these. That might be an alternative as well. Now we have a general sort of flow of things. I'll make one more change. Now move this over here. I'm gonna actually block off this top half. Let's go use some objects to give it some style here. So here's my game design thoughts. We're going to have the player go to this alcove, this whole left half, if they want bombs. I'm going to have them... Actually, I'm going to have to see if you can even make it to this last one. Probably can't. Anyways, go to that one for bombs and ammo. Go to this one here to activate the laser, and if you're desperate, you run down to this part where you have little intention of going, and we'll put one more replicator that'll give you health. So that way you gotta take a long walk. So it's a risk-reward thing. Oh, I forgot to finish the ammo button. I erased the bomb part and then stopped. So if any... I actually not doing a replicator for this guy. Because the only way to give health in ZZT is going to be by gems, and that's going to be 1 gem and 1 health at a time? You could do energizers, but that's not going to get them very far. Let's just... let's just not question it. Give health 10. I shouldn't have erased all that code because I still want to block. And I gotta fix this code. You know what? Copy and paste that. I'll give them a gem. So I'm gonna cheat here. I gotta change the characters too. I'm sorry I'm jumping back and forth between these two objects constantly. If any gem, fail. Okay, put north gem. If not any gem, reset. So this way when they pick up the gem, they'll get their 1 health from the gem, and this object will kindly give them another 9, as if it was giving them 10 at a time. That way it still matches thematically to the other buttons. I don't like it in this corner here. Okay, back to this one. This guy changes back to this character. Bombs go with bombs. Yeah, the reactor still can't even be shot. It's been about an hour and a half here. Could do 2 of these. I'm just gonna do that just to... because there's no way the player's going to be able to destroy this last one with a bomb from that side. Okay, I think we'll settle for that. Charge our laser. Grab some health. There we go, look at that. And we're gonna want to add a cooldown, which is what I did in my mock-up at first, instead of having it make sure you could only have 1. Which, kind of a mess. But boy, that's one way to get a bunch of health. Or heck, I could just have it give 1 health at a time and keep it like that. But I also don't want like a bajillion ammo either. Oh, there we go. We can actually debunch things. So that adds some opportunity. Ammo isn't as severe of a thing. Let's just have it just like that. For these guys. They charge slower. Now, gonna pepper in a couple of enemies. Don't worry, we're not on Mars, so the killer robots can be red. It's gonna start with a couple scattered around. A couple lions, a couple tigers. I have no idea if that's too many or not enough. But either way, there's going to be a lot more, because they are also going to be replicated in. So we don't want these guys to be touch-based. We want these guys on a strict timer. Let's just start that from scratch. Wait. 6, 7, 10. 5 seconds. 5 seconds per tiger. How fast is this at making tigers? Wasn't too terrible. Though I have to say the effect isn't as good as I hoped. I think I definitely need to crank up the tiger count. Add in some for lions. Now this is probably going to swing in the opposite direction. Just 10,000 lions, 10,000 tigers. This is good game design. We also have to consider that this is just kind of like a blind test. I have no idea how much health and ammo the player is going to have going into this. This is going to definitely need rebalancing after like a proper full playthrough of the game. Adjust these wires a little bit. Okay, stupid amount of creatures mode. And you know, just to make this quote unquote beatable, The reactor will do a thing when it's shot enough. $100, $100. Oh, this is much scarier. I'm taking my time a bit more doing it this way. Also, that one looks like a tiger, but it's spitting out lions. Oh no, I forgot to actually add a single tile of water. They're supposed to be. Okay, actually... No. This is too many creatures. This does not look fun at all. Look at this board right now. No, that's... This is too many creatures. A little overkill. Let's slow this down. And let's add the water that I forgot to add. And all this seems in the way a bit. Grab this with a weird awkward chunk. There we go. Oh, that's right. Players can shoot over water. What did I do for my mock-up? I think in my mock-up I just ended up saying, you know what, and just moved the laser. Did something like that. It's gotta be something a little nicer though than that. To make sure the player can't shoot north. It's not really an option. Yeah, then I have to fill this whole thing. And now my brilliant laser power thing doesn't make sense. I have to use like transporters if I'm doing that. I don't like invisible transporters. I think that's not a very good solution. Honestly, I'm more inclined to just do this. Yeah, there we go, because then I can do this. Instead of random, make sure it puts them to the east so it doesn't blow up the walls. Still goofy, but by putting those things in there, now it's sensible. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing this bizarre thing when all I have to do is make firing the laser make something here like move. Three. So 3 boulders go here. Erase them. animate a more non-shooty laser. I should honestly fade it out just the same, but I'm gonna save time there. Okay. So now it'll quote unquote, it'll pretend to sort of fire a laser. No, that's not good. That's not doing me any good. I need to actually destroy something, not just create the appearance. Because I don't have a lot of room to work with around here. I can't just move an object to the side. I mean, I could, but that'd look garbage. But so will a bunch of water. Screw it. Just point blank shooting it is. And no power cable. It'll have to do for now. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, actually, I almost like that effect that I meant to remove because I just placed the thing there instead. That can still bunch up those orbiters, though. Now, this still looks stupid. There's, like... I don't know. I'm not satisfied with this, like, whatsoever now. I like the idea of having to move around the board and do things instead of just shooting a whole bunch. But a pile of tigers and lions, it needs to be on something other than a timer. I need to have it so every time you shoot the core, it spawns a bunch in or something instead. It needs reworking in some manner. Let's make sure it works, though. Honestly, I might go back to the mock-up I had. I think I was liking that one a bit better. Great. Set out. Because, yeah, this is all you actually need to do until you need health and ammo. It's going to be pretty dang soon. Oh my god, this tiger. But yeah, we're going to end up hitting the stat limit doing it like this. There's way too many enemies. Kind of like waiting patiently for it to hit. Still got him. As long as I can fire bullets, I'm not at that limit. But long story short, there we go. Can't fire. We've hit the stat limit. So I think this board still needs some work. I think the idea is decent enough. I'm not sure how to go about this. We're headed on 2 hours, so I'm gonna wrap it up for now. Yeah, the monsters... Well, right now there's no real reason to shoot them. You're better off just running to the laser button really, really fast. This board just needs some tweaking for sure. I'm at the point, though, where I really want to get this finished. I started this in February, this series. I've been making good on not doing any kind of editing outside of streams, but I might have to break that rule. I think I'm going to end up doing that, because I want to wrap this up. The trials and tribulations of game design. But you know what? We got a cool background. I like the backgrounds. Oh, Lord, no. Well, I'm going to call it a night for now. I'm going to try and figure out how to go about continuing this. But let's call it a night here. I thank you all for watching. Hopefully, even though this board did not turn out how I wanted it to, you at least got something out of it. What I plan to do, for sure at least, is stream a game on Sunday and maybe do another stream the Tuesday after. My original plan was to finish this series and then switch over to exclusively doing everything on Sundays, except then I ended up having to work a Sunday again, and I might have to start working Sundays again. So I don't know if that's going to happen. So I don't know when streams are going to be, but there's a lot of stuff to stream right now. There's been a whole lot of cool new discoveries and new releases. The Select Button Game Jam finished. Will in here, Stale Meme Emporium, finished a game. There's that really cool 2016 Super ZZT game that looks wild. So I want to be done with this, just because there's actually a bunch of things I would like to stream at this point. You know, this guy gets in the way a little bit. So I might just... maybe I'll do like an article or something where I just do some cleanup on all these boards and summarize my changes. We shall see. But thank you for sticking with me on this project. It's almost done. I mean, we could ship it like this, it just won't be that spectacular. Because I would like us to finish this up and then have one last video on how to publish this somewhere other than the museum so people can play it on like itch. I don't know, I'm rambling at this point. This has been a very long outro. I'll see y'all next stream. Later.